Our History 1301 Biographical Research Presentation Project with Professor O'Connell covers the detailed life of Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain. I'm Hadley Miller, and our group consists of
Macy McNutt
and James Moore.
Samuel Langhorne Clemens, better known by his pen name Mark Twain, or the father of American literature, was the popular author to several novels, including two major classics of American literature. He also was a riverboat pilot, journalist, lecturer, entrepreneur, and an inventor. Mark Twain explored the American soul with wit, buoyancy, and a sharp eye for truth. He became nothing less than a national treasure.
The academic sources we found useful for this project include The Portable Mark Twain and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both written by himself. We also found various online sources that include biographies and synopsis that will be cited later into the depth of the video.
Throughout Mark Twain's lifetime, his production of masterpiece writings led him to become the savior of the dreaming literature artists of America. The crazy adventures life of Mark Twain that we researched was a big impact in the inspiration of his classic novels and his famous character traits.
Samuel Clemens was born on November 30th, 1835, in the tiny village of Florida, Missouri. He was the sixth child of the Clemens family, and his parents were John and Jane Clemens. When he was 4 years old, his family moved to nearby Hannibal, the huge town that consisted of about 1,000 people. He lived in Hannibal from age 4 to age 17. The town, located on the Mississippi River, was in many ways a splendid place to grow up. It states in our academic source, The Portable Mark Twain, that he was very fond of his uncle, John A. Quarles. John Quarles had a place in the country that was 4 miles from Florida, that Mark Twain thought was a heavenly place for a boy. He used the place in his literature, for example, in Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Detective One moved it down to Arkansas. Mark's Uncle Quarles was very special to him. He says he has never come across a better man than he was.
History wouldn't be history without the past literature and culture inspirations. Mark Twain was and is still a huge sensation of the American literature history. It would be ridiculous if Samuel Clemens wasn't in any history books across America. As read from The Portable Mark Twain, one can only repeat the Mark Twain's greatness developed because the time and the continent had shaped him at their core. When his short story, Jim Smiley and His Jumping Frog, was published and widely circulated in 1865 by the Saturday Press of New York, Mark Twain became a nationally known humorist. He gave his first public lecture in October 1866 and embarked on a lecture tour in the western states to make money and promote his career. Clemens had a natural talent for telling stories and making speeches. He would lecture on and off the rest of his life. The writings of Mark Twain endure on bookshelves and in the hearts and minds of readers throughout the world. In his sketches, articles, stories, and novels, he captured the flavor and spirit of America during the late 19th century. More importantly, he wrote eloquently about universal themes that affect people of all times. Sam's letters were also a big part of his eloquent writings. According to The Portable Mark Twain, a letter addressed to Andrew Carnegie from Mark Twain states, "God will bless you. I feel it. I know it. So will I." His power to write and inspire people were in his books, of course. But what people really didn't see was his inspiration and impression through the letters he wrote.
Mark Twain died on April 21st, 1910, and still more than 100 years later, his literature is still being read in our modern schools. The way Mark Twain wrote was unique. His style was relaxed, and his style influenced a lot of our generations of American writers. In most of his books, he talked about racism and how the African Americans weren't treated correctly. So imagine what he would have wrote about if he was alive when Barack Obama became president. So I think Mark Twain should be remembered because, number one, he was a great writer, and the way he wrote was very unique and abnormal. And you won't find that type of writing from any of our modern-day writers. Number two, He was a great guy, and he believed that African Americans should have all the rights the whites had at that time. Number 3, he wasn't scared about what he wrote about and what people would think about his writings. He always had a dark sense of humor and always stuck up for the African Americans, even if it had a chance to get him killed or hung for treason. He wasn't scared to speak his mind or talk about anything he didn't believe was right. That's why Mark Twain should be remembered today after being dead for over 100 years, and he should be remembered for even more centuries to come.